All right, perfect. So let's get this started. Hello, everybody. My name is David, and I will be your host today for this webinar. We're all really excited that you're here for this webinar that we've designed specifically for students and faculty, and we're happy to share more information for you about what you might need to know in order to enter into this challenge and participate. So specifically, this webinar is going to cover a few things with, once again, the emphasis on giving you a chance to learn about internships and new grad opportunities with Reclamation, and also a chance for you to actually boost your resume and portfolio by participating in the AMPS challenge sponsored by Reclamation. In a moment here, we'll go over a very quick introduction and just housekeeping. From there, I will introduce Nathan from Reclamation, who will take us through an address and go into the details on the challenge. Next, I'll take everybody through how to enter into the challenge, and we'll end off with some live questions as well as some prepared FAQs. Before we get started, I want to introduce myself. So my name is David, and I work on the freelancer.com enterprise team as a customer success manager, and I will be your host for today. We also have Nathan Myers from Reclamation. As previously mentioned, Nathan will be taking us through the Reclamation address and also diving deeper into the details of the challenge. Firstly, a few housekeeping items. Number one, this call is being recorded, and the recording link will be made available through the challenge page and also sent out via emails. So if you have any friends that weren't able to make it today, rest assured they will be getting a link to this. Please also feel free to use the Q&A panel. So you can find that near the bottom of the screen. We do have a dedicated portion of this webinar to answer your live questions, so please make use of that. And if we can't get to your question today, we'll make sure to answer them through an FAQs document that we'll be attaching onto the challenge page. All right, so with that, I would like to introduce Nathan Myers. So Nate is the manager of the Hydropower Diagnostics and SCADA group for the Bureau of Reclamation. Nate has been with Reclamation for nearly 20 years, and his area of expertise includes protection systems, generation, backup power, safety, and operations and maintenance of hydropower facilities. Nate, over to you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. So hopefully everybody can see my screen there. So my name is Nathan Myers. I'm with the Bureau of Reclamation out of Denver, Colorado, and I work for our Technical Service Center. And today we're going to go over the Bureau of Reclamation kind of in general, and then we're going to discuss this AMPS challenge that we are hosting and trying to get folks involved in. As mentioned, if you have any questions, please make sure to put them in the questions window, and we will answer those as we get to them. So Reclamation was established in July of 1902 to reclaim the western arid lands of the United States for human use under President Theodore Roosevelt. While our primary goal is water delivery, and today we're the largest wholesaler of water in the US, we have 180 projects in 17 western states. We also have 348 reservoirs with a total storage capacity of approximately 245 million acre-feet of water. Additional goals for the Bureau of Reclamation include power generation, recreation, and flood control. But who are we? We're one of 11 bureaus within the United States Department of the Interior, and our core mission, as I mentioned, is to deliver water and power to the 17 western states, as shown in the map. Our priority is safe and reliable operation and maintenance of water and power infrastructure. A little more about us. Reclamation holds title to 78 hydroelectric power plants, and we operate 53 of those facilities, comprising a total of around 14.6 gigawatts of installed capacity. We have 176 generators and another 30 plus large pumps. We're the second largest producer of hydropower in the United States, behind the Army Corps of Engineers, and more than $10 billion has been returned to our national treasury since 1909. So if we were to go on a quick little tour of Reclamation, here's a map, and you can see quite a few of our power facilities in the western United States there. You can also see that the size of our generators range anywhere from around 350 kilowatts all the way up to 805 megawatts. So if we look at the picture on the left, we can see how big the rotor is. compared to the gentlemen that are attempting to get the rotor installed. And on the right, you can see, again, they're installing a rotor, and you can see the gentleman or the employees up around on the left side of the picture showing how big that unit is. Opportunities within reclamation. As I mentioned, reclamation has facilities and offices across the Western 17 United States. We employ many different types of engineers and scientists, including electricals, mechanicals, civils, geotechs. We have biologists, just a wide variety of different folks out there helping to ensure that reclamation is successful. If we were to look at our Technical Service Center staffing profile from 2019, you can see that we have biologists, chemists, geologists, geophysicists, physical scientists, meteorologists. When it comes to engineering, we have civils, environmental, geotechs, hydraulics, quite a few different ones, a lot of mechanicals and electricals. We also have estimators and other support staff that help us in being successful in the work that we do. When we're talking specifically about electrical engineers, Reclamation has hundreds of electrical engineers across our 5 regions, and they support our power facilities, everything from design and specifications to operations and maintenance. The Technical Service Center, or TSC, in Denver has 4 different electrical engineering groups. We have 2 electrical design groups, our electrical controls group, as well as our electrical equipment group. And we have 2 field support groups, and this includes our power system analysis and controls group, as well as our Hydropower Diagnostics and SCADA group. Each year, the Technical Service Center tries to host between 40 and 60 interns. The internships are paid, and they must be completed prior to graduation to achieve the full benefit of the program. You can intern after graduation, but you will not qualify for a program which helps managers to hire interns as full-time employees upon graduation. Interns can be at all levels, from undergrad to a master's or even PhD candidates. It's a minimum of 11 weeks, and we consider the internship to be an extension of the interview process. It helps both managers and interns determine if they like the work that we're doing and if reclamation is the right place for them. How to apply? We recommend reaching out to us, Reclamation as a whole, specifically me, in early October if you're interested. You can email me directly to show interest. What I'll need from each person that wants to apply is a resume and at minimum a letter of interest. Additionally, we do like to see transcripts and maybe a letter of recommendation from a professor or a previous employer as well. So my email's right there. It's just nmyers@usbr.gov. And if you send me an email by the end of October would be ideal. I would definitely say our hard cutoff will probably be mid-November this year. We can put you into the list to ensure that you are considered for an internship. Sorry, all right. If you're looking for full-time employment, all of our full-time jobs are basically advertised on usajobs.gov. I recommend going out to this website ahead of time and setting up an account and uploading your resume. A good reminder is a government resume can be longer than 1 page if you have meaningful information to share. You can also search by job title, department, agency, series, occupation, city, state, zip code, etc. So our technical service centers in Denver, Colorado, and our zip code is 80225. This can greatly help when you're looking for employment within Denver. Also remember, we're the Bureau of Reclamation, so you can search under the zip code, our bureau name, and then if you're fresh out of school, you'd be looking for GS5s in 7 positions. If you have a master's degree, you'd be looking at GS9 positions, and a PhD will typically start at a GS11. Work experience may help to bump up the salary. So for example, if you had maybe 3 years of experience plus an undergrad degree, you may be able to start at the GS9. Those can all be determined at a later point. When applying, another important thing is to contact HR to ensure they've received your entire packet. Unfortunately, the usajobs.gov website can be a little bit cumbersome at times. I recommend going in, copying the answers or copying the questions into like a Word document, answering the questions within the Word document, and then copying and pasting back into usajobs.gov prior to the completion date. I recommend doing this at least one day ahead of time, and then there's always an HR contact. And I recommend calling HR and ensuring that they've received your packet and that you haven't accidentally omitted something that could get you disqualified from being a contender for the job. Just to give you an idea of the overall pay scale. So as I mentioned, undergrad and master's candidates typically start between the 5, 7, and 9 levels. This is just a standard government pay scale, if you will. So for example, if you had a 3.0 grade point average, you just graduated college, you would most likely come in at a GS7 Step 1 or $62,794 a year. Kind of our journeyman level is the 11 and 12s, and you can see that those are starting around 90,000 a year. And then our senior level engineers start at around 116,000 a year. One important thing to keep in mind, if you were to come on at a GS7 level and you're fully successful in everything that you're doing, there's a very good possibility that within 2 years you could be a GS11. From the GS11 to a GS12 takes a little more time, and from a 12 to a 13 takes some time as well. Typically, we hold GS14 positions for managers or for technical experts within our organization. Non-engineering positions still offer competitive pay under the Denver low-calorie salary. However, the table I'm showing you here is specifically for engineers. If you want to learn more about reclamation, we can provide information sessions at the request of your professor, career center, or professional student organizations such as IEEE. You can reach out to me directly at nmyers@usbr.gov, or there's my phone number as well. We can schedule a date and time to maximize the number of students that can attend. So these information sessions, we also call them like lunch and learns, are opportunities for reclamations to come out to the universities that you're located, and maybe even do a virtual lunch and learn, if you will, so that we can go into more details on what all the groups do and show you some of the really neat and awesome projects that we get to work on. These information sessions are for discussing reclamation and the duties we perform within reclamation, and can be tailor fit to the curriculum of the courses at your university. However, we are unable to discuss the prize competition in detail during these information sessions, at least until the prize competition's over, which I'm sure everybody respects. So what are we looking for? Reclamation's always looking for a diverse group of individuals that have a passion for electrical engineering. Power courses such as energy conversion, magnetic fields, protection systems, power system analysis, data science, and power quality are all benefits to have on your resume. The ability to take an idea from the beginning to end is very important for reclamation as well, from concepts to basic drawings and initial calculations to final implementation. That's one of the main benefits that I love reclamation. A lot of places you may only be involved in one little aspect of a design, if you will, but here at reclamation, you can be involved from the beginning, basic prototyping, field testing, all the way to possible commercialization. We're also looking for strong engineering skills, understanding of basic programming such as PLCs, relays, microcontrollers, graphical user interfaces, etc. We're always looking for attention to detail and the ability to utilize tools from basic hand tools to complex electrical testing equipment. So one other thing to kind of keep in mind as well, a lot of times it's nice to get someone that has a 4.0, but at the same time, we need someone that's able to work with their hands as well. And it can be a little challenging to find a 4.0 student that maybe has the skills to work with their hands as well. And so we're looking for a very well-rounded electrical engineers as we go out and we hire. So we're looking for engineers of all types, all backgrounds, and we want people that, you know, bring different things to the table. Maybe the hobbies you do at home would relate to some of the work we're doing, and all that's very important to when we're hiring at reclamation. So as we get into the AMPS challenge, the AMPS stands for, well, the AMPS challenge is to automate comprehensive testing of the existing protection systems. It's a complete testing without requiring our power plants to be offline, and we want to reduce labor requirements to complete the testing. So when we discuss this overall testing, we have to look at hydro plant generation reliability. And within the US, we're looking at the North American Electric Reliability Corporation, or NERC, and the standard we are looking at is PRC 005-6. This has to do with the maintenance of all protection systems within our power facilities. We are updating hands-on maintenance activities and attempting to automate these so that we can decrease downtime, thus allowing us to generate power without having to have our units offline. If we were to look at a standard protection system, basically it's essential to protecting the power plant and switchyard equipment and systems and the electrical power system as a whole. We perform coordinating tripping activities to improve the safety of our employees and the public, reduce damage to our equipment, and ensure the reliability of our grid. If you look at the image there, you can see we have a generator and a transformer. We have differential protection set up around the generator with the 87G. We have differential protection for the transformer with the 87T. And then we have other protective relay elements outlined on the left-hand side, including our 40, our 51, our 46, and our 24. Those are all IEEE numbers. For example, the 24 stands for volts per hertz. We get these signals through current transformers and potential transformers, which feed the relays. So when we look at our protection system equipment, the first thing we have to look at are the instrument transformers. And then we have protective relays, lockout relays, and circuit breakers. The instrument transformers basically take system currents and voltages that are too high to be used directly with our protection equipment, and it transforms them down to signals that can be fed into these protective relays. For example, a current transformer may reduce current values from 6,000 amps to 5 amps. The same with our potential transformers. They can be used to reduce voltage values from the system. Often this includes going from 8,000 or 13,800 volts down to either 69 or 120 volts. Those signals are then fed into our protective relays. They utilize the signals from the instrument transformers to determine the current state of operation. Some of our protection elements include overcurrent, undervoltage or overvoltage, current differential, volts per hertz, or loss of field. If the relay initiates on one of these example protection elements, it'll initiate tripping actions to protect the equipment, the employees, and the public. Our relays at Reclamation come in several different forms. We have electromechanical relays, solid state relays, and the newer microprocessor-based relays. Now, when we say newer microprocessor-based, those have been around since the late 90s, but we do not have them installed at all our facilities. However, that's what our prize competition is focused on. Lockout relays and circuit breakers. Lockout relays combine trip signals from protective relays and initiates the tripping of the circuit breaker. It can also initiate other critical systems such as fire suppression. The circuit breakers interrupt the current flow after an event on the electrical grid to protect employees and the equipment. From start to finish, a protective system should sense the misoperation and open the circuit breaker in less than 10 cycles, or approximately 0.1667 seconds. So when we're looking at our protection system testing, the way we do it now is often labor intensive. It requires plant equipment to be offline. Some of the maintenance activities include setting verifications of our relays, CT and PT signals verification at the relay, CT and PT burden measurements, and A to D or analog to digital verification. All relay calibration and testing information must be maintained in accordance with NERC-WEC. Physical location. So the instrument transformers themselves are typically located at or near the equipment that we're protecting, such as our generators and transformers. It can be challenging to access the instrument transformers based on the configuration of the equipment. As far as protective relays, they can be located near the equipment, but they're more typically in a control room. And the distance from the instrument transformer can be several hundred feet away. Power facilities in general, wireless communications are not ideal. Number one, most of our facilities are made of concrete, steel, etc., and we have quite a bit of electrical noise. And number two, they're not allowed for protection circuits due to security concerns. So kind of where we're at with the challenge, it's a two-phase challenge. Phase one is we're looking for a white paper telling us what can be achieved and what ideas we should be looking at. Phase 2 of the challenge includes a prototype, so an actual device that we're going to be able to test here in Denver. The challenge is, why are we doing this? Number one, we're looking for innovation, creativity, diversity. And when we talk diversity, we're looking in diversity of education and experience. Oftentimes, when you work together with maybe a group of individuals for many years, you start thinking alike. We're looking for a way to help us be more creative in the solutions we're coming forward with so that they'll be more worthwhile in the end. So the solutions themselves, they must verify operation of the relay settings, verify proper signals are delivered to the relay or meter and are correctly recorded. It needs to be able to store all results with a date stamp. They have to work with cell relays and meters, and they must function as a standalone device, and they must be able to produce an alarm. So those are the requirements. As far as the nice to haves, they could download and store relay event files, measure and store CTPT burdens, work with other manufacturers of relays, provide interface options with network or internet-based systems, address additional maintenance procedures, or address additional CTPT testing. Examples of this might include communicating between relays to compare signals from different CTs and PTs located on the same bus. Could include, it could communicate with the microprocessor-based protective relays and power meters to ensure the signals going into the devices are similar. It can query the relays and ensure that the settings are installed and produce an alarm when unexpected signals are captured. Let the animation go so you can kind of see we have an idea here where we have multiple sets of current transformers and instrument transformers located on the same bus. We would like to be able to compare these values and make sure that all sets of current transformers are reading similar values. The same is true with the potential transformers. We'd also like to be able to compare the signals that meters and protective relays are seeing to ensure that they're all seeing similar data. If 3 out of the 4 are seeing something similar, but 1 out of the 4 is not, that could be indication that there's an issue with the 4th relay. Here's an example of the nice to haves. This would be burden measurements, and it would allow us to measure the voltage, current, and the resulting phase angle to calculate the burden. It would record both raw values as well as calculated values back to a centralized processor and alarm if the values are not acceptable. So some of the information that we have out there, we have our website here, you can check it out. We have our usbr.gov/power that can take you to some of the documents that we have as reclamation, as far as testing procedures and what we do with our protection systems. And then we have additional information on both reclamations and the AMPS challenge websites for you to go out and find additional information to help you help us solve our issue.
Perfect.
All right.
Awesome. So swinging it back to how to participate in this specific challenge, there's a couple steps that I'm going to walk everybody through. So number one, you will need to create an account on freelancer.com in order to enter into this challenge. Without an account, you will only be able to see the details of the challenge, but you actually won't be able to submit anything or enter. Two, you got to make sure to read the challenge brief in detail to fully understand what is needed from you. 3, participate in the comment section or public clarification board and ask any questions that you might have in the comment section. 4, work on your entry, and 5, submit your entry before the submission deadline. Keep in mind that if you're able to submit earlier within a reasonable time frame before the deadline, freelancer.com staff, we will be able to help review the entry just to ensure that it's complete. So if there's something missing, for instance, if you didn't answer one of the questions, we'll be able to ask you to make the change and resubmit it before that deadline. There is still a little over 1 month left, so that should be more than enough time for you to submit an entry into this challenge. And keep in mind, just try your best. Even if your entry is not perfect, it still may be valuable to reclamation, and it's still also valuable to yourself to challenge yourself and to add to your portfolio as well. So don't worry about trying to be the best, right? Just having the entry submitted that meets even the basic requirements is a great feat upon itself. So, and also a great talking point at interviews to kind of boost your career in the industry. One last thing to note, your teams, they don't have to be just with fellow students, right? You can team up with others outside of your faculty. So your friends, your family, your colleagues, so on and so forth. All right. So other than that, let's get into some questions. And I've seen a couple of questions come through. So make sure to keep those questions coming. And we're actually going to kick off with a prepared question. And that is, can I participate in the challenge in a team with non-students? Nate, do you want to take that?
Sure. The answer, as you just described, is yes, you can. A team doesn't need to be formed of only students. And in fact, it may be beneficial to have others on your team that could help you along the way, whether it's a professor, maybe a recent graduate, or someone who is within the industry.
Perfect. Next question, should I design a solution for the challenge using commercial software customized for this project or developing the software from scratch?
Yeah, this is Jim DeHaan. I'm a senior engineer and I work with Nathan Myers, and I can answer this question. But yeah, we're looking for unique solutions. And so using something, commercial software is a great way to start. There are products out there that could easily be modified or even somewhat developed to answer this. They offered the advantage of you could, definitely have a path to a solution and you don't have to start from scratch. However, we are looking for things that are unique and maybe don't have, large license fees and so forth. So if you do have a solution that maybe you develop, from scratch, starting with some microprocessor and building upon it, for example, that might, score better because you have a very unique, low-cost solution that's out of the box that we haven't thought about, or nobody else has thought about in the past. So, but it may be harder to get that completed, and because you're starting from scratch instead of building upon somebody else's work.
Okay, awesome. Next question. In what period of the year are the internships with reclamation? So summer, school terms, and how long are they?
So while we can have an internship that runs all year long, to get the most advantage out of the internships, they typically start in May to June time period, and they run for a minimum of 11 weeks. It could be longer with an agreement of the intern and the mentor. So for example, if things are going well, and if we can either work with the intern remotely, or if they're local to where we're at, we can often keep them on through the fall, the winter, and the spring as well.
Hey, Nate, could you also answer if you have to be a U.S. citizen or not to apply?
Yes, I was going to get to that. Yes, you do have to be a U.S. citizen to be a part of the internship program, at least at this point. We are working on things to see if we can broaden that slightly, but we have not been able to get exact answers yet.
Perfect. Next question, what does the hiring process at Reclamation look like?
So there's several ways to gain employment. For example, if you complete the 11-week direct hire authority internship program prior to graduation, you're eligible for direct hire authority. While this does not guarantee employment, it does help you get over that first hurdle of employment and trying to get into the federal government. The second method requires a candidate to go out to usajobs.gov and sign up for a profile. From there, the candidates can search for positions within the federal government, not just within reclamation, and find positions that interest them. As I mentioned in the PowerPoint, 80225 is the Denver Federal Center, and there's quite a few opportunities there within Denver. So that'd be the first place to go out and search if you're looking for Denver and looking for reclamation. From there, the candidates can apply for positions that suit them, and then it'll go into HR. HR will go through the candidates, try to find the best candidates for the managers, send their information to the hiring manager. And from there, the process is fairly standard. We can go out, we set up interviews, decide who we want to offer positions to, and kind of go from there. The one thing I would ask just to keep in mind is our hiring process can be a little slow at times. So just be patient with us, if you will, and we're trying to do our best.
Perfect. So let's go over to a live question. Someone's asking, what are some common technical behavior questions an interviewer might ask for a power engineering position?
A lot of times for an entry level, one of the common questions we ask is, number one, why did you want to become an electrical engineer? What led you there? Oftentimes there's one or two events coming up from childhood into adulthood that made someone point in that direction. So those are always interesting to see and hear. We like to hear about maybe hobbies that they have that could be associated with electrical engineering, maybe robotics or programming, things they've done in their spare time. But what else? I mean, we're entry level, we're pretty open. We try to find out, are you going to want to be a little more hands-on, or would you like to do more design type work? But at the end of the day, if you are a qualified candidate, it appears you're going to work hard for us and you want to be a part of the team, even if you don't have everything we need, we're willing to send you back to school to try to get you the courses that we think you might need to be successful and to build you up to ensure that you're a beneficial part of the team. So.
Perfect. And there was another question, where can I find the challenge on freelancer.com? And the quick answer to that, just go to freelancer.com/reclamation and you'll be able to see the link. The link should also be in the webinar description. So if you want to go back and find that, everything is in there. All right, so keep the questions coming, guys. Great questions. We'll go on to some prepared questions now. So would participating in the AMPS challenge help boost my application for careers in the industry?
So when I look at this, I think that if it came down to the end of it and I were the hiring manager and someone had the AMPS challenge on their resume and someone else had definitely a more generic, maybe senior design project or more generic projects on their resumes, I think the AMPS challenge would definitely sway me toward that candidate, just because it's power related. It's the type of work that we do. And I really do feel that participating in something similar to the AMPS challenge, and more specifically the AMPS challenge, would be a huge benefit on a student's resume.
Perfect. And is it possible to use the AMPS challenge as a capstone project in my class?
If you'd like to build a solution in your class rather than through the challenge, you can definitely contact Reclamation at freelancer.com. You would have to note at that point that there would be no monetary prizes per se, but Reclamation would be willing to help create a project and provide some technical insight and, if you will, maybe some low-level mentoring to help the students get on board as if we were the client and you were coming to us as maybe a A&E type firm, and we could provide what we're looking for and help bring you along and make sure that the students understand what's important as a power utility to properly solve the challenge.
Perfect. And what are the benefits of participating in the AMPS challenge for a student? So I'll answer this one. So one, obviously it's a great addition to your portfolio, your resume, your CV. Two, it's a great networking opportunity, right? So we have Reclamation, we have freelancer.com, we have Aero Electronics as partners in this. And so great networking opportunity for you guys to meet us. Three, you can also use a solution to build outside of the challenge as well. So if you want to commercialize it nationally or globally. And four, there's money up for grabs, right? So even if you don't get first place, there is other prizes that you can win in terms of that. Okay, let's go back to the live questions. And we have a question for the competition. Do you have to be a US citizen, or is this available for Canadian students? Anna, do you want to answer that?
Yes, thank you, David. Yeah, so non-US citizens can also participate. There's a full list of eligibility criteria, though, on the challenge page that we do recommend you to check out, because there are some restrictions, for example, sanctioned countries restrictions that cannot participate. So definitely recommend checking out the page, looking at the eligibility criteria, and seeing if you can participate.
Perfect. All right, so keep the live questions coming in, guys. This is your opportunity once again to hear answers directly from Reclamation and from freelancer.com. Next question here. I feel daunted by the prospect of participating in the challenge as a student. What do you recommend our approach to be?
So as we look at, we'd recommend forming teams so that you're not working on it alone. I think a good team is definitely going to help provide a quality solution and improving your chances of winning the challenge, if you will. I would personally, if I were in your shoes, I'd reach out to some of my professors and bring up the challenge and say, this is what the challenge is. Here's what I think I can add. Do you have additional faculty or students here that you would recommend me teaming up with to try to come up with a solution? Again, Freelancer can also help you in your discussions with faculty members to help them join the challenge as well. So, you know, utilize the resources you have, go out there with the internet. We have a lot of resources that we can use to try to build a successful team that can help us solve this challenge.
Perfect. What type of experiences do you recommend showcasing in a resume? Jim, do you want to answer that? Or any ideas on that?
Yeah, sure. We like to see lots of different experience to show that, you know, you're more than just a student. And if, you know, taking classes, that's great. We love seeing what your grade point average or how well you did in classes and so forth, but how you've been able to apply that and put it into practice. So something like the AMPS challenge is great because it shows that you've been able to put the knowledge that you've gained in your classes into some practical use, and that looks really well to people looking to hire. I just want to clarify too, the two things we've talked about today, an internship at the Reclamation or working for the US government versus this AMPS challenge. These are two different qualifications. If you got to work for the US government, of course, you have to be a US citizen. The AMPS challenge is open up worldwide. There are some minor restrictions, but definitely not being a US citizen is not one of those. So it's much more open, the AMPS challenge versus the employment.
Perfect. So we got a couple more questions here. So what do you enjoy most about your job or about the agency? So maybe we'll have both Nate and Jim answer this separately.
Let's have Jim go first, if you would.
The thing I love most about my job is I like the diversity, especially in power. I found that in electric power and working for the Bureau of Reclamation, I get involved with a lot of electrical engineering. I get involved with microprocessors. I get involved with electronics. I get involved with programming. And of course, I get involved with power and power engineering and solving those types of equations. So it's not just a small subset of electrical engineering. You know, it's just not power, but it's this whole wide variety. So just the variety and the variety of work that we do and the variety of skills that you need to have to work at the Bureau of Reclamation.
So to build on that just a little bit, just to kind of show what variety we really do have. We do everything from circuit board design at the millivolt level, all the way up to testing at the 500,000 volt level. The fact we get to get our hands on is something that I absolutely love. I like to be able to go out to the facilities, meet the different people, and get to work on these pieces of equipment that are basically, I mean, just insane in the overall size and magnitude and the amount of power they're generating. These units up at Grand Coulee that generate 805 megawatts are, you know, like 60 feet in diameter, rotating at 72 RPM. And now all that's mind blowing. I also love the people we get to work with. Unlike many private firms, if someone has a question, they can go up to a whiteboard. I promise if you put an equation, almost regardless to what it is on a whiteboard, within minutes, you're going to have 3 or 4 people around you. And the discussion from there is just awesome. I love seeing my employees working on those and working together, as well as being able to participate in that. People don't hold things close to their chest. They're willing to share with everybody. I came in under Jim DeHaan, and he has taught me so much in my career that, I mean, it's insane. And I hope that as we bring in new employees that we're both able to share that same knowledge with them.
Perfect. So Last chance for live Q&A. We will end on a live question if there is one, but the last prepared question here is, at what level do I need to be to compete in the AMPS challenge? I'm only in my second year.
I'm going to say that the year of school that you're in has less to do with the knowledge that you bring to the subject. Let's say, for example, maybe you're a military veteran and you were in the services and you did something with electronics. You may have the skills necessary to be a part of the challenge coming in as a freshman. There have been employees that we've hired who have geeked out so hard from the time they were in like 5th grade that by the time they went to college, they probably knew as much as a quarter of their professors did when it came to a lot of this stuff. So I don't want to say that you must be a junior or a sophomore to be able to participate. If you have the skills and knowledge to participate, then you should come and you should be a part of the team and try to come up with a solution that's going to help us solve the problem. So like I said, I don't think that it's fair to say you need to have this course or that course. It's more important as to what you bring to the table as to if you can solve the challenge.
Perfect. So last chance for a live question. Going once.
David, I see your question asking whether it says, is it free or behind a paywall? And I think this may be referring to registering on the freelance.com platform and joining the challenge. And so to answer that question, it is free to register on the platform and submitting a white paper as well. There are no costs associated to that.
Perfect. Okay, so with that, we will end things off. Thank you so much for joining this webinar. Once again, the recording link will be sent out. If you have friends that registered that weren't able to attend, the link will go to them as well. Other than that, thank you so much and have a great day ahead, everybody.